We're going to call the Board of Commissioners meeting order. Pledge allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Smasco.
Present.
Commissioner Baldwin. Commissioner Beaton.
Present.
Commissioner Torello.
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone.
Here. Item 4, additions, deletions, changes to the agenda.
Okay, we have the delete of the Resolution 23. So I'll make a motion to delete Resolution 23-13, proposed revisions to the St. Clair County Animal Control and Protection Ordinance.
I'd also like to add the removal of items 12B and 12E.
Can we do one motion at a time?
Sure.
Good. I need a second on this one.
I'll second that.
Because each one will have discussion on it.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Can we, Jeff, can I make just a note on these before we discuss?
Sure.
I want to, just to make a record, the animal revision stuff, proposal came out on May the 30th on our normal agenda.
Yep.
I was gone on the 6th. I sent a memo out to have it not sent up. And since then, I've filed some documents with the board to take a look at some issues I had. So I do appreciate the fact that you're going to take that off to have some more time to look into that, what I raised perhaps and others. And also, I'm not going to ask that it amend his motion, but I would like to strongly consider some type of a public hearing. You know, I did talk to Georgia. She thought of, what do you call it, town hall, but there's no procedural, you know, in a town hall, it's kind of a free-for-all. With a public hearing, at least you have the Robert's rules, call it a town hall, public hearing, whatever.
Yeah, we
But
can
there's a
determine
lot
how
of
we
people.
want to.
Pardon me?
We can determine later. How
Yeah,
we wanna
whenever
move
that gets back on, I mean, it's just good practice to look at these things, but the way it came up, and it just, I was gone, and it took me, believe me, a long time to look through everything, and I'll make a further record as we go forward on other matters, but, so I'm in agreement with the motion, but I wanted to just make that a record so people know why it is it was sent up and then taken off. I think that makes sense to do that. And on the other appointments.
Let's take care of this first, or do you want to talk about the appointments?
Just a brief comment.
Yeah.
What happened was, Jeff had called me to say they were thinking about taking it off, and that's fine. I called Georgia and I called Dave Vandenbosch, both of which want to be present here to have their voice heard on those appointments. They each represent, if Dave Rushing's math is right, 22,000 people respectively. So to take it off to allow them an opportunity, Georgia and I disagree on who we're going to vote for, but I think it's important she have an opportunity to place that vote there. And Dave Vandenbosch likewise indicated he would like an opportunity to vote for those advisory positions. So again, I think it makes good sense to do that, and it's just open and transparent, and it shows courtesy to the other commissioners that aren't present. So I just want to make a record of that for people that are here.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, and it had to do with quite a bit of research myself in regards to the kennels, printed out various ordinances. I have Riley's on top. I got a nice letter from Liz Master, who represents Wales Township here, the supervisor. I also printed out Berlin's and others. From my understanding of the Michigan State Constitution, the county has the right, that's why I was going to ask legal counsel, maybe we can pass a note to them and have them investigate it before we go further with this. The state allows the county to have an animal director and pass ordinance for any municipality that does not currently have one. I believe our animal director has to follow the ordinances that are in place for the specific locations that they are. If it's more restrictive, I think you have to go by the ordinances that are at each township. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at by legal counsel before we go and make revisions to it. So I wanted to bring that up.
Anything else?
Nope, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Lisa?
So item B, I would ask for the removal of 12B and 12F.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Definitely. What happened in the past with other appointments, and when Mr. Coons was here, we had only 5 members. He might have made it to the board because he was a serving member, and anyways, he didn't make it. we had 5 members that night and voted, and of course, he did not get on by a 3-2 vote. I'm not sure why we are changing our policy. And potentially, I haven't talked with Georgia or Dave on who they want to consider for either position, whether the Health Advisory Board or the Veterans Board. I understand what Steve is saying, but you also have one of the people here tonight, and I don't see either one of the veterans that applied for the position, but I don't see why we're not doing it tonight. If this is because Georgia and Dave asked for it because they weren't able to be here tonight.
They both had unforeseeable emergencies that came
We
up.
always have that.
One was a death in the family, the other was a business. Georgia had to go down to Georgia,
Yeah.
some issue with their company, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like they just didn't show up.
But every one of us, if we're not here, it's because we have issues. And you can stage or grade those issues however you want to do it, whether it's a death or in a family or a business, or with me when I occasionally go on my fishing trip. Whatever reason, we all have issues why, otherwise we're always here. Very rare do I believe that we miss meetings. I think I might have missed, I don't know, what, 6 in 14 years or something, 13 years. So I rarely miss the Board of Commissioners meeting, the committee, or the full board. I'm not sure if I've ever missed a full board meeting. Just my concerns is that we're changing what we've done in the past.
I can just make a brief comment, Jeff. To me, I don't care what the practice was or has been, policy, but the board is a board of 7, you know, and both of these issues, all these issues that are being looked at for removal are significant enough. They're not, to me, just housekeeping things. So, I mean, I understand, Dave, your point. There are people here that want an answer, and you balance that against the representation of the elected officials. You know, if I get a vote that goes 4-3 or whatever, or 2-1 or whatever it is, I move on. But I'd never want to deny one of my colleagues the opportunity to cast their vote when they tell me they want to cast their vote. If Georgia would have said, you know, I'm good either way or something, it would have made a difference. But to me, I think it's good practice going forward that if a commissioner asks for a reasonable accommodation, you know, that we do that. And that's where I'm coming from.
On that point, you drafted a very, very nice letter in your concerns to the animal ordinance. Gave it to all the commissioners, and we had that at our previous meeting. And that, very nice, and you did a lot of research in it. Your consideration wasn't
I'm sure they'll reform their ways now.
It got moved on to the full board, and then when we had the
Right.
concerns that came up, that's why we took it off the agenda. So however you get there, whether you would have done it then or this, but it's
They're honoring it
same-
now rather than later, and I'm
same
good with
numbers.
that, you know, so.
Okay. Anything
Well,
else?
I'm good with that. Whatever we make our
Did
decisions,
they
like
have a
the
motion?
convention center.
Did I have a motion and a second? Roll call.
Commissioner Smasko?
Yes,
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
No.
Commissioner Rushing?
I'm going to go say no also.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question, please? Would you like these on committee for final action?
If you can do that, yeah.
Okay.
Might as well.
what's going on for final action?
Committee.
The two, the Health Advisory Board
Oh, on
appointment and the
committee for
Veterans
final,
Board.
I get it, okay.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Okay, item 5, approval of the agenda.
Motion approved,
Support.
as amended. I don't know who had that, but I'm making a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 6, items A and B.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to approve and file the minutes from June 15th, 2023 Commission meeting and the July 6th, 2023 Standing Committee meeting.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 7, there's a proclamation for Ray Martin. We will get that to the appropriate person to get it to him. Do I have a motion and a second?
At this time, I'd like to approve the proclamation recognizing Raymond Martin's years of service.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 8, consent agenda, items A through J.
This time, does anyone have any objection to removal of the item, or the passage of the items on the consent agenda? Notwithstanding an objection, I would move that those items be passed summarily as a consent agenda at this time.
That's
Support.
A through J, correct?
Yeah, items A through J. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Who seconded that? Did you do
Reports of standing special committee. Steve?
You know, I missed the last meeting for Parks and Rec. I did talk to them a bit about what's going on there. Obviously, it's Fair Week, and there's a lot going on out at the fair. I have nothing to report, really, at this point.
The Board of Health met this week. Dr. Nevin is in the room, and there's an opportunity to talk with him later in the agenda. So welcome, Dr. Nevin. Also, we talked about the national accreditation that's coming up. That we're accredited every 3 years, that we skipped a year during COVID, and so now we're getting back on that cycle. So in the coming weeks, you'll see a pretty significant packet coming from the health department. Please review that. That is what will be submitted to our accrediting agency, and we do need the board's support on that. So please review that, and if you have questions or concerns, get those to Liz King.
When's that coming out?
It should be on the next committee agenda.
All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, I screwed up. David?
Just something slight here. Been going to the Riley Township Board meetings, also the Planning Commission. We have an issue, and you may have this if you represent townships. We had somebody that dug a pond, over an acre pond, and it wasn't quite in compliance, and there was quite a bit of people at the meeting. But anyways, we got it resolved. I got the soil and sediment permit from the county. They're also going to be in compliance with everything with the ordinance. But if you have construction and stuff going in your township like a pond, we also got Eagle involved, and so they're all in compliance. That's about all we got.
Okay. Joy?
I have nothing at this time.
I'm going to take a pass. Item 10, citizens wishing to address the board. Kevin Linke, topic BOEM.
How y'all doing tonight? I'm sure y'all just seen the scene that just happened. What I just served Jeff with, or even he was just served with, was I'm asking for a PPO against Jeff. It's recently come to light that Jeff engaged one of the members at his gym to shoot me for $60,000 because he doesn't like that I'm sitting here speaking out against him. This was confirmed by the man he offered the money to, it was confirmed by that man's best friend, and it was confirmed by the people this man said it to. So that's coming. Jeff's also going to be served on Monday with a major defamation lawsuit by 3 other parties because last year during the boat races, he decided to hand out QR codes that linked to a website that was full of a bunch of defamatory comments. So you guys might want to reel in the chair of your commission because he's out of control. And it's time for you all to put him in check. I'd like to address Dr. Nevin right here. I don't know much about you, but here's my warning to you. Get out. Liz Masters is going to ruin your career. You've seen the last director just quit after 6 months. There are major problems at the health department, and she's at the top of the list. So I think you're a good man. I thank you for your service and all that. I think you're a very capable doctor, but get out because you don't want to work for this woman. Ask any staff members, ask any nurses at the health department, sit them down privately out of her and Greg Brown, or Craig Brown, whatever his name is, out of their earshot, and they're going to tell you what the issues are. So just do yourself a favor and just get out. Back to you. You know, Jeff, you made this personal, real personal. You want to threaten me? Come threaten me. Don't send your little lackeys to do it. Come do it yourself. You and TJ and Chris Paul can come get in my face and we can handle this like men instead of paying people. And it might have been just some bravado or some guys talking tough at the gym and all that, but guess what? It made its way back to me, Jeff, and it's serious. And I'll let you know I've met with the FBI twice now on it. That's how serious it is. I'm meeting with MSP on Monday about it. We're going to talk about this, Jeff, and we're going to find out exactly who said what, when they said it, and who they said it to. And I'm almost positive that all roads lead back to you. You know, here's the problem. One of Henry Deitch's best friends, he got real chatty on my post on my Facebook page, and he let it out there. And he knew details that nobody outside of my immediate family knew. And he confirmed pretty much everything that I alleged. So you better get your story straight. I'd get on your little phone line, start calling up your people, and you guys better sit down and get your facts in line and get your story straight, because we're going to talk about it in court. And then there's going to be transcripts. There's going to be police reports. And there's going to be all kinds of official documents laying out what you did. So buckle up. You got, I think, boat races are next week. I know that's your big party in St. Clair, so enjoy yourself. Because right after that, things are going to get a little rocky. See you in 2 weeks, asshole.
Jeff, if I could,
Yes.
I want to make one correction on what he stated. He actually said Liz Masters, not Liz King. So It'll be on video, and I just wanted to correct it that, not Liz Masters.
Libby Prill, 6177 Trip, Brownfield Planning, 26 Mile Road.
Good evening. I emailed Jeff Donaldson about a public hearing on the EDA Brownfield grant, and he said that a public hearing isn't required. However, I looked up the Brownfield Redevelopment Act, and it states that before approving a brownfield plan for an eligible property, the governing body shall hold a public hearing on the brownfield plan. By resolution, the governing body may delegate the public hearing process to the authority or to a subcommittee of the governing body, subject to final approval by the governing board. So I guess my question is, because that still hasn't been answered, was the public hearing delegated elsewhere? Was one held? To whom was it delegated? And when, if a public hearing was held, when was it held? I also would like to know, just as a matter of information, how this will tie in with the Southside Neighborhood Improvement Authority and development of the property at Desmond Landing in and around the EDA, proposed EDA building site. Also, recently we learned that Catherville has a zoning change on their agenda to zone property on Starville Road at 26 Mile to light industrial. Amid some controversy and allegations, 2 lots were rezoned to light industrial back in 2019. And the owners now wish to add an adjacent property to be zoned light industrial. In an email response to a constituent, the clerk of Catherville referred to this area of Starville as an industrial development district. So now, that ruffles my feathers. I know it's a Catherville local issue, but it affects all of the municipalities around that intersection. And spinning an address to around the corner seems more like an end run around the residents and the township's opposition to industrializing this area. Still don't want it. Jeff, some of these are, your associates, and they persist in pursuing this industrial development. The residents in southern St. Clair County live under this spectrum of ongoing threat to our culture and to the reckless risk to our water table and soil. Henry Ford Hospital just ran an article this week warning residents of the hazards of eating Great Lakes fish. That's pretty sad. We do not need more polluters and toxins entering our soil and water table. We would just like to limit industry to existing industrial areas, and we ask that you do not rezone green space to create more pollution, more risk, and more blight. Finally, regarding Clair, Jeff, you said that it would be an R&D facility. It may be perfectly safe, or it could be Wuhan or PG&E. If you want support, we need to have more transparency on this issue, and I would love to hear more about exactly what Clair has plans to do there. Thank you.
Vicki Blackburn.
Good evening. Thank you for a moment. I just am here because of a previous comment, and I'm here to support Liz King. I am getting a little bit tired of people being called out publicly, especially when we have a new employee that's gone through the system of being hired in the proper channels. He's here. I think it's very disrespectful to tell him to go back to where he came from. Now, if there's an issue that this needs to be addressed, then I would prefer it not be done at this podium. I would prefer that it be done also through the proper channels. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Unfinished business, item A, broadband consultants tabled. We don't need any action unless we want to pull it off table. Item 12, new business. Items A, approval of county disbursements.
This time I move to approve the June 2023 county disbursements in the amount of $18,326,048.19.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item C.
See, that's my item. At this time, I would move.
Yeah, we moved B off the B. That's,
Okay, oh, I'm
we
sorry.
took it off the thing, so item C.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have a motion for C.
Well, I was going to, I circle them on my form. I didn't circle C, but I've got the library consultant. That's what we're at, right? That's what
Yep.
make sure I'm on the right spot here. Okay, at this time, I would move to approve the professional service contract with Specialty Vehicle Services LLC for a bookmobile consultant services for library in an amount not to exceed $21,300.
Support?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item D.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2315, approving the Area Agency on Aging 1B fiscal year 2024 annual implementation plan.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item E.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Health Department Nursing Agreement extension with SC4 for a term of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $109,374.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. F was taken off the agenda. Item G.
This time I move to approve the fiscal year 2024 residential substance abuse treatment grant application in the amount of $242,953.
Support.
Discussion. It's just a grant, so all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item H.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to approve the agreement with Westlaw for the Clair Proflex subscription for the Public Guardian's Office for a 3-year term in a total of $21,639.12.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item I is removed. Item J, the Motorola contract,
Item J.
or the
this time I-
sheriff's, I'm sorry, item J for the sheriff's office.
You're calling J, Jeff? You want
Yes.
J? Yeah, at this time, I'd move to approve the agreement with Motorola Solutions for the replacement of Sheriff's Department radios, 3-year warranty, in an amount not to exceed $634,000, $634,897.30.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Yeah,
Commissioner
one thing,
Beeden?
Jeff, this was
No.
part of the ARPA money, wasn't it? Wasn't this, that was part of one of our ARPA capital improvements?
Yes, that's correct.
That's all, thank you.
Item K.
This time I move.
Oh, I'm sorry, did we, roll call. I apologize, jumped ahead.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item K.
This time I move to approve the purchase of a whole body security scanner and a 5-year warranty from Tech 84 in the amount not to exceed $202,500.
Support?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item L.
This time I'd like to make a motion to approve $30,000 in funding for the Blue Water Conservation District for the fiscal year of 2024 through fiscal year 2026.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item M.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Parks and Recreation proposed fee schedule revisions.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item N.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2314, approving the sponsor contract for the funding of the environmental assessment Phase 2 for the airport.
Support.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item O.
This time I would move to approve the contract with AT&T for telephone service for a 3-year term.
Support?
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item P.
Item what?
P.
P, okay, misheard you. At this time, I move to approve District 7 American Rescue Plan Project for Clay Township for the upgrade for a contact point for the warning siren project in the amount of $10,115.
Support?
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Before we do item Q, we have Dr. Nevin. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself and say a few words?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Dr. Remington Nevin, it's a pleasure to be here. I suppose you're all familiar with my CV, and you've heard the reports of the committee that interviewed me. So I'll just say a few words briefly. I have family in the area. My late father's from Buffalo. My mother's from a small town just across the river in Ontario. And I was raised in Toronto. Went to the University of Toronto before joining the U.S. Army, where I served 14 years as a public health officer. I volunteered for a number of overseas deployments to combat areas, including Afghanistan. So I'm used to taking incoming heat rounds. And, I do understand some of the controversies in the county, and that's fine. I'm happy to discuss that more in due course. I'm very interested in relocating here. I may have mentioned to be closer to my family that's in the area. So when I saw this opportunity, my partner and I, we thought this was a great opportunity for us. So thank you very much for considering my application favorably. I will address I suppose the gorilla in the room. I am familiar with the controversy surrounding COVID and COVID interventions, and let me just say, I share many of those concerns that have been expressed here. I am on record, this is no secret, I was on record very early in the pandemic as expressing some concern with some of the decisions that were made at very high levels. Not everyone in the public health profession necessarily agrees with every decision that has been made, but of course, for many years it was impossible for us to even debate these issues openly. Now that we can, I think we'll get a much more nuanced understanding of events of recent years. My philosophy in public health is that there are very rarely perfect solutions in public health. There are almost always trade-offs. And when deciding on a course of action to pursue, I think that decision makers need to consider both the pros and the potential cons of any potential intervention, and use the values and priorities of the community to guide them in whatever decision is made. The decision that is right for one community may not be the right decision for another community. That's not wrong. It's a reflection that public health serves the public. And the purpose of public health is not just to protect health and save lives, it's to protect health and save lives in a manner that's consistent with the priorities and values of the population. That's my public health philosophy, and I'm looking forward to helping the county make potentially difficult decisions in that regard in the future. Happy to take any questions.
Good. Welcome aboard. Pretty dang impressive resume, so read through it, and I'm sure that the interviews and everything, you're going to, hopefully you serve us for a long time.
Thank you very much.
I mean, we got to vote on it, I'm sure, but providing it all goes forward.
I'm very much looking forward to relocating here. I've had a chance to visit St. Clair County now twice. Unfortunately, very brief visits, but I've had a chance to tour the county, a very beautiful county. You have a fantastic and diverse county here. Your economy is vibrant and strong. I like the strong agricultural base that you have here. You have a strong base of industry, which is very important. You have great job opportunities, great educational opportunities, fantastic population, very eager to assist you all in serving the community.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Stevie?
If Liz Masters tries to ruin your career in any way, you call us and we'll talk. But seriously, you know, your comments you made, I'm going to ask that the board have those comments transcribed and made part of the record, just his comments on his presentation. Is it really, I've never met this man, I've seen his record, but when he stands here and tells us that he's going to appreciate the differences in various approaches to medicine and treatment and public health, but that he's going to focus on the local concerns and the citizens, I think you said feelings or whatever it was, their input. To me, that's a big difference. Is it coming from the feds? Is it coming from Lansing? Is it going to come from our local health department? And you will encounter push from the state for areas that locally we disagree with, and we'll let you know about that. So I really appreciate that, and we do have a process in our bylaws to transcribe comments and make a part of the record. I think that's really good going forward, because I think what you said was spot on. You have good credentials, you have connections to the community, you're here to serve the public, and you're going to pay attention to what our community wants from our medical doctor in the health department. And quite frankly, I think that fits well with Liz King. I've been very impressed with Liz. She's answered every question I've had. She's provided me every document I've wanted. Recently on the animal control, I reached out to her. She gave me some stuff I passed on about how they work with animal control on rabbit and vectors and all this stuff. So I'm really excited that you're here. I think it's really a good thing for the county. I have the highest hopes for you, and I just want to thank you for coming and wish you well.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. And I should say, during my military career, I was generally serving in a consultative and advisory capacity, and very often working under a senior officer who was a nurse or in some other allied health profession. So I'm very comfortable with that setup. In fact, I think that's an ideal setup. I think that in settings like this where there is authority and then there's a role for medical advice, I do think it's wise to separate those roles. That was the circumstance that I typically worked in the military, and it's perfectly appropriate for that in civilian public health as well.
If I could, Jeff, just trivia stuff here. Did you ever serve down in Fort Bliss?
I've been on Fort Bliss on TDY, on temporary duty. I was assigned to Fort Bragg for a while. I believe it's called Fort Liberty now. And then I was at Fort Polk for the last few years of my career. I believe that's called Fort Johnson now. Most of my career I served, unfortunately, and please don't hold this against me, I served inside the Beltway in D.C. in a number of policy and advisory roles.
I was just there in '66, so I'm the old person here. But and then, did you serve in Germany though?
No, I never
Did you
had
get the land stool,
pleasure
or?
of being in Germany. I have passed through Germany on my way to and from various locations overseas. I served a year in Afghanistan. I served a year in East Africa doing humanitarian work with Army Civil Affairs, and then I did a brief tour in Korea.
And I'll let you go, but just a little more trivia. I was actually born in a MASH unit in France.
Oh, very good.
Back in the 50s. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nevin. Do I have a motion and a second?
This time I make a motion to approve the medical director employment agreement with Dr. Remington Nevin for a term of 7/24/23 through June 23/26 at a rate of $123 per hour.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Torello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Item R.
At this time, I would move to approve the lease agreement with the Michigan Department of Human Services, Health and Human Services, for a term of 6/1/23 through 5/31/24 in the total amount of $599,992.00.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
And Mr. Chairperson Bone.
Yes. Item S.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 traffic enforcement program grant application in the amount of $62,206.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item T.
This time I move to approve the fiscal year 2020 National Criminal History Improvement Program grant agreement in the amount of $10,278. That fiscal year is supposed to be 2023 or 2024?
Second.
Discussion.
I just want to make sure the motion is correct. I got it the correct year on here. I can't be 2020.
So most of these grants are several years behind, similar to our Homeland Security grants, where we're spending their grant several years after it comes out.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 13, Administrators Report.
Earlier this week, we had a retirement board meeting, and today we also met to discuss the Retirement Healthcare Trust. And both funds returned 7.4% so far this year. As you'll recall, we had about a 14% loss in both funds last year, so we're starting to make those dollars up. At the retirement board meeting, they also set the date for the annual actuary meeting, and that meeting will be at August 15th at 9 a.m., and that's where the board will get the results of the 2022 actuarial valuations. We currently have multiple RFPs out for many of the ARPA projects. So the library roof, those RFP results are due tomorrow, along with the architect for the health department design. The lobbyist RFP, those interviews have been complete, and there will be a recommendation coming to the board for that in August. You're going to see quite a few more RFPs, not just because of the ARPA projects, but many of our contracts are coming in asking for very significant increases, sometimes upward of 40%. So due to that, we are going to be bidding out more things because those renewals are just coming in too high and not sustainable. Another project that you will see coming that we will have an RFP out or for our new chillers in this building. The chillers are the original with the building, and we are starting to experience some failures, so that RFP will be going out soon as well.
Those ARPA?
That was not on the ARPA list, so we're kind of reevaluating to see if that could potentially fit in or as a request. I've been working with the City of Port Huron. They have requested to submit a proposal to lease the county parking lot, and that parking lot is the one that is on the corner of Merchant and Quay Street behind the old AT&T building, kind of across from the yacht club. We used to lease that parking lot to AT&T when they occupied the building next door, and it has been sitting vacant since. So they are interested in a proposal to make that public city parking.
Condition currently, or is that going to need some resurfacing?
It will need some resurfacing and maintenance, but part of that agreement would be that would be at the city's cost, so.
It's not utilized presently.
That's correct. We don't maintain it.
No
or
revenue
light it.
comes from it, and nobody uses it.
Gets used on boat night.
Other than boat.
That's about it.
Yeah, Carnival Week, they do some staging
I mean,
over
is
there,
that
but
a revenue stream? It's not, it's
no,
just sitting there.
it's just sitting there. Results for the county's 5-year CIP, those came in last week, even though we do have a couple more that we know are coming in. Currently, we've received 25 projects for just under $36 million, but we know there's a few more that will be coming in, so I'll have a better update for you next month. And that's all this evening.
I had a question. On your first item, Carrie, we had historically, or at least in the last cycle, a 14% reduction in values on our retirement funds, and now a 7% upside. What do you attribute that to, generally speaking? Why was there a loss? Why is there Any ideas or?
Just market conditions.
Just market conditions.
You know, most systems and people, personal investors took a loss in 2022, and then we're starting to see those rebounds.
And they can only invest in really
Solid
conservative,
stuff.
yeah, they can't just, you know,
Well, I just wonder why.
Bet
I
on
mean,
black
I'm
or-
not a financial guy, but, 14 is a pretty big number, and we're coming up 7 within a 12-month cycle. It just seems abrupt, what's going on? I don't know.
so back in the 08, 09 era, 10, whatever, we lost 33% of the.
I was
correct
here
me
then.
if
I
I'm
remember
wrong,
that,
right? It
yeah.
was 33% of the entire thing. It was
Rough.
a lot.
Thank you.
Anything
else?
Nope, that's all.
I got it.
Oh, I'm sorry, David.
One, I think you'll see, and it doesn't matter who's in office, but I think in a presidential election, you either have a pretty good bump or a decline the first year of whichever administration is that. And I think that was part of what happened last year. But I've been talking with Bill Hazelton, and I don't know when we can take care of this if we want to at all, but
Is
we
this
currently been.
miscellaneous business or is it administrator's report stuff? Because you want to.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
miscellaneous.
Motion for the administrator's report.
Move to approve, receive.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Miscellaneous business, David.
Yeah. Talking to Bill Hazelton, the director of our road commission, because of costs going up, I know he's talked with you and he's talked with me about it, potentially raising the $900,000 that we have a partnership with the 23 townships of going to $1 million. I've discussed potentially going to $1.2 million. Would that potentially be addressed this year, or would it be on the budget for next year, if we're going to consider it all?
Is that a point of discussion? Is that something you want to discuss, or what?
Oh, definitely. That's why I'm bringing it up. When can we talk about it? On a committee meeting next month, or?
Usually they send in a budget request, do they not, Carrie? How that works?
Yes, we did receive the request this year, or for next year, and I believe it was for $1 million.
Okay.
Is it appropriate to have a department like that come in and make a presentation? Is that what you're looking for, Dave, or you want to talk amongst the commissioners about it?
Generally, I'm sorry, but generally the road commission, correct me if I'm wrong, they go out and they inventory what projects, I guess, are going to happen in particular townships. Then they come up with how much money that they need, because the actual road commission, if I'm not mistaken, has more dollars, through some of the taxing and those types of things than they have had in previous years. So that's always generally has been driven by the road commission.
So that's part of the annual budget process, right? Or no? Is that a separate process early on, or part of the fall budget?
Typically, we do it as part of the budget process. However, if the board would like to do something different, we can certainly do that.
What happens with townships, being a previous supervisor, each township, they go on a road trip, and they'll go through and determine what every township requires in their needs. Liz Masters here, she'll go on hers, or will send somebody. I imagine you go on it yourself, but they go out and they'll make down where they want the stone, where they need culverts, where they need berm work. And every township is going to be different than the next one. But then they'll write down their priorities. And talking with Bill Hazelton, the cost of the main thing that they do out in the townships, the rural ones, is limestone. They put a lot of limestone down and do a lot of ditching. And the cost of limestone is going up. So if you leave it at $900,000, that means that you're going to get less material put on our roads, which means the roads are going to deteriorate quicker when you can't have material on. So you're out in the township, you start getting those potholes and you can't get out there, even if you grade them, you don't got material to put back in place, you're going to deteriorate the road. So I'm just pushing to potentially get some more funding to where at least we can maintain what we've been doing in the past, the tonnage.
On that point, Jeff, and I did mention this to Jeff, I don't know, a few weeks ago, we have a deep sea port and Detroit Hall contracts for that port. And I was contacted by some people in my district about concerns that Dave's raising, not able to get limestone to put down or chloride because of problems at Detroit Hall and other products going to other places. And so to me, it's not for tonight, but maybe there's some way to talk about reviewing how we do that and getting a priority if they're going to lease from us, lease that deep sea port, somehow make sure that we get the limestone we need so it's not going to other places. I don't know if that's possible, but it's something I meant to look at, but there's amongst all the other things we're looking at.
Did you talk to the road commission about it?
I didn't. You told me to talk.
Yeah.
I've not talked to him, but that's
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out as something that was, I don't know anything about it. I can
That's what
certainly.
And they obviously run it, so I would suggest just call Bill and have him.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
explain-
I haven't done it.
explain everything.
We've been busy with everything else and all this other stuff going on.
You got Bill's number?
No, you send it to me, Dave, and.
I'll send it to you after meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I had.
Any other miscellaneous business?
I had something, Jeff. I had just
Okay.
three quick points. Libby Pearl is still here, and she had sent an email out on this public hearing issue with the brownfield development, and I guess I'd made a comment when it passed. I think I asked you, Jeff, did it go to public hearing? You said yes, and then she called me to clarify that. I actually had to call planning and Jeff Donaldson to try and figure that out, and I was told that it's considered a public hearing when you put it on the agenda. So I don't know if that's true or not, but,
Versus separate public hearing.
well, what I was going to ask we do is, could we get some clarification, maybe from Corporation Counsel on, I've talked to our staff about it, but if it requires a, quote, public hearing, we certainly want to do that. And if it doesn't, because I know under the County Commission Act, I was looking at issues with that animal control, to pass an ordinance, we don't have to publish, we do not have to have a public hearing. Under townships do, they have multiple readings, all kinds of requirements, but county commission, we may pass ordinances at any meeting, duly noted meeting, with majority vote, period. So we could pass an ordinance the same night it came up, right? Not that it's the right thing to do, but, so on this issue with what Libby Prill raised up, it's certainly worth looking at. I still don't have a good handle on it. Maybe Fletcher could take a look at that if someone wants to see if they could do that. Is it required to maybe get back to the commissioners, and we'll get back to Ms. Prill on how that works, and whatever's required, we certainly want to do it to be compliant, right? So that's the first point. The second point is our county clerk asked me before we started the meeting about ballots. We have ballots presented for board appointments, and she asked me if I knew how we did that, and quite frankly, I didn't. We had to have a ballot or not have a ballot, but do we have a procedure or process? Do we prefer ballots? Do we prefer voice vote on those things? My preference is for a ballot. She has all the ballots made up. It just seems cleaner for me to have ballots prepared rather than trying to write somebody's name out. So, and I asked Jeff about it. I don't know, did you talk to our county clerk about that to see where we're going, or do we have a policy, or what? Any ideas on that? Are we going to use ballots or not use ballots, or do we need to have Corporation Counsel tell us if we need ballots?
So do me a favor, because I was writing a date and time in here when you were mentioning that. Re-ask me the question.
Do what, Dave? What?
Re-ask me the question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. Remember in the hallway, I told you that Angie asked about ballots on our appointments for boards, and my preference was to have a ballot. She wasn't sure.
Yeah, ballots, normally what we'll do if there's, whenever we have multiple candidates, we forward it on the full board, and then we use ballots.
Okay.
If there's only one candidate, sometimes if it's just a regular committee, we'll do it for final action because there's nobody else that's actually applying.
Does that answer your question, Angie?
So, yeah, she asked me earlier about it. We've been using ballots for a long time.
The last piece, we passed this Eddy development piece in the consent agenda. I don't know it's not signed up yet, but I would like to have some follow-up with Fletcher to make sure, we have a preferred position, secured position, and where we are on that, make sure all the paperwork gets filed on that. Somebody can follow up on that. That's the.
And that was actually passed previous at the full board and stuff.
Right, but I mean, as far as when
Revisions.
they execute those documents, they have to be filed with the Register of Deeds to secure your position. I just want to make sure somebody does that and reports back, that's all. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
So not this weekend, but next weekend, we have our big offshore powerboat race in St. Clair, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Huge event. People come in from all over, literally all over the world, from Qatar and, different race teams. So great opportunity to showcase all of our area. So with that, receive and file.
I make a motion to receive and file packets that were sent to the commissioners, packets at their place, and any other information presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 16, adjournment.
So
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.